Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I have my wife Nellie here.
Hi.
Hello. And she's a nurse, and today we're going to talk about nursing and we're going to answer questions that people might have if they want to go into nursing school. So if you want to go into nursing school and you're wondering, should I go into that field or should I go into another field? We're going to ask Nellie for questions on her opinion, okay? So stick around and listen to more. Hi guys, I'm Daniel from Dolder Media, and today I have my wife Nellie with me. We're going to talk about nursing. So let's start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Nellie. I graduated from nursing school about a year ago. I got my bachelor's in nursing, and it took me quite a while to find a job. I've just been working as a nurse for just a few months now.
Okay, so let's start off with this. The problem with becoming a nurse right now, especially in California where we're from, is that there's way too many nursing jobs that are taken and not enough positions that are open. So it took Nellie about a year to find a job. I mean, I think we've applied to hundreds of places together. I've coached her through interviews. She's been on countless interviews, and she finally got a job because of the pandemic that's going on. Can you tell us a little bit about how that whole process went?
So basically, like he said, it did take me quite a while to find a job. It was about a year. I filled out multiple applications. I even applied to places that were about an hour, even up to 2 hours away from where I live. And even then, it was difficult to get a job. I've also talked to other nurses that were trying to get a job, and they said they had to move away, get their experience, and then come back to the Sacramento area.
In terms of getting a job, you would say it was pretty difficult overall?
It's tough, but I'm not sure how it is in other parts of the country. Definitely Northern California especially, it is tough to get a job.
Now, what about schooling? Can you tell people about how hard was schooling? Because I know that people say that the nursing program is something really difficult to get into. Can you talk a little bit about how hard it was getting into the program, and then after the program, how hard was the program?
The more difficult thing about the program is getting into the program, even though the program itself is a lot of work. But once you're in, you're kind of in. The school will usually do everything possible to really help you out, make sure you're ready for the NCLEX.
My personal experience as an RT was kind of the same thing. I mean, when I was trying to get into the program, that was a pretty difficult task. So I would say if you're at the stage where you're trying to get into a program, that's probably going to be the hardest part of the whole process, other than actually looking for a job. So getting into a program, because they kind of give you all these prerequisites that you don't necessarily need. A lot of them are useless. I would say the biologies are pretty important, but beyond that, like, you're never really going to use chemistry as a nurse or as an RT. So the getting into the program was difficult. Once you're in the program, honestly, it's not that bad. I would say there are a lot of deadlines, right? I mean, like, you could say goodbye to a social life, but I think that applies to anything.
That's true. There was a lot of things that I didn't expect in nursing school. Like, there were more papers that I had to write than I think I had to write in any English class. So that was something unusual for me.
Okay,
Unexpected.
so like, again, if you're watching this and you want to become a nurse, so let's talk about what you like about being a nurse. So other than wiping butt, like, what's your favorite part about the job?
I mean, you kind of took the best part of the job. The job is genuinely really rewarding. People are in a really vulnerable state when they're in the hospital, and when you treat them really well, they can see that. People can sense that. So when you treat them really well, a lot of times you will get so many thank yous, so much gratitude, and it really makes you keep going. It makes you want to come back and just serve people and help them out.
So there's like a running gag going with respiratory nursing. If you haven't worked in a hospital before, you'll know that respiratory nursing are kind of like frenemies. In the ICU, they're best friends. In the emergency department, they're best friends. On the floors, they're kind of a little bit more frenemies. So the joke is, when you're going to nursing school or when you're going to respiratory school, you're asked the question, do you care about the secretions that come from the mouth or the secretions that come from the butt? And however you answer that question is what profession you'll go into. So I care about these secretions. She cares about the other ones. Okay, another question is, would you recommend somebody taking out a school loan? Obviously, we're not financial experts, but would you recommend somebody taking out a school loan, or would you recommend somebody work through nursing school? Do you think it's possible for somebody to go to school and still carry a job that pays for their program?
Overall, it won't be that bad taking out a school loan because as soon as you get a job, you'll be able to quickly pay it off. And also, there are quite a lot of scholarships for nurses. I got a couple scholarships throughout my nursing school.
So yeah, what was cool with her was that she did get a scholarship. She actually got a few scholarships from the school. There are a lot of programs that help nurses out because nurses are so needed in the hospital. They're kind of like the backbone of the hospital. There are a lot of programs that people can apply for. So if you are having trouble financially, I would probably say get the student loan. But after you get the student loan, there are going to be ways that you don't have to work and you could still go to school. There are scholarships, there's Rotary clubs, there's other clubs that donate. You could write letters to them and you could tell them your financial problems. And some of them give 3,000, some of them give 5,000. So you could really get a lot of help from these programs. I have another question now. So would you go into respiratory now that you're a nurse? Looking back at it, would you say, look, I'm happy with what I'm doing right now? Or would you go into another career like respiratory, the best job ever?
Honestly, I wouldn't want to go into any other career. I really think nursing was perfect for me. I think everybody has to see for themselves what works for them and what they prefer in their job.
So, of the 50 people watching this, including my mom, hey mom, they want to know what's the best advice to give them right now. If anybody's trying to go into nursing school or about to start nursing school, what's the one piece of advice that you wish somebody gave you?
I think the best thing you can do for yourself in nursing school is to really study and make sure you know your material really well. Understand how the body works, understand the physiology, but also the pathophysiology. What happens when things aren't right? When you're going to be a nurse, even though you're going to be a new nurse, people expect you to know stuff. And when you're on the floors, when you're working, you gotta make sure that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so with that, the funny thing is when I was in respiratory school and I was in clinicals, a lot of people would come up to me and they'd be like, RT, I need this. And some doctors would come up and they'd be like, RT, what do you think about this? And I was still a student, so you can't really say, I'm just a student, I can't help you. I mean, obviously, you still have to let them know that you're a student, but you should still give some kind of recommendation. So even in school, you should be already on top of everything. So I think is this what you're trying to say? Pretty much what you're given, master it. Everything that you're given, take it seriously. This is going to be your job. I know in my personal experience, if I went to a mechanic who's fixing my car and they kind of slept and partied through school, I wouldn't really even trust them on my car. And we're a human body, and we're supposed to trust nurses, doctors, respiratory therapists with our bodies. And I think that the nurse is shown with how much effort she put into not only studying, but really learning her field or his or her field. So if you go to the hospital, you kind of expect them to know everything they're doing. And so I think is that kind of what you were saying?
Yeah, basically.
Now, overall, from start to finish, how long did it take you to become a nurse? Before you answer that question, for me, I actually was initially thinking about going to nursing. And then once I found out what nurses do, I was like, kind of want to become a respiratory therapist instead. So I did all my prerequisites for nursing. Luckily, it's almost exactly the same prerequisites that you take for nursing as you do for respiratory. So the transition over to respiratory was very easy. In fact, a lot of people that are in respiratory are people that they just couldn't wait any longer to get into nursing. There were people in my class that waited 3-4 years. And they're like, you know what? I'm just done waiting to get into a nursing program. I'm going to go into respiratory because it's a little easier to get into. Overall, though, for me, 2 years of prerequisites with 2 years of general education and then 2 years of program. It took me about 6 years total, but I did kind of take some extra classes just for fun. So it took me about 6 years total to become a respiratory therapist from start to finish. What about you?
I think it took me about 5 years. The program was 2 years, and the prereqs, I did them in about 3 years.
What about the licensing process? Was it pretty straightforward? Was it pretty easy, or was there any kind of problems getting a license?
I think the licensing stuff was pretty easy. Honestly, it kind of basically it runs through all the steps that you need to do. It was very simple. It is costly, but to apply for a license, but overall, it's a pretty simple process.
So we're both in California, and in California, this is what they always told us in school. If you can get a license in California, you could probably get a license anywhere else because we have some of the most strict regulations here. So it was a little bit costly. You have to get your fingerprints done. You have to go to the DMV and prove if you're a criminal or not. That's if you have some kind of history, like this one over here. It took her a while.
It's not true.
Okay, so another question I have that I think a lot of people ask me is, what do you think you'll do in the next maybe 5 to 10 years? Are you still going to be a nurse? Are you going to become a nurse practitioner? What's the end of the road for you? Like, what's the goal? And again, I'll answer it first. For respiratory, it's kind of the ICU or the NICU. Some kind of intensive care is probably the goal for us. Like that's when we're there, we're pretty happy. What about you?
I don't think this is the case for all nurses, like it may be for respiratory therapists. But for me personally, my goal is to become an ICU nurse. I know it'll take a couple years of experience, and then I would have to either apply for a transitional program into the ICU.
Well, these are a few questions that a few people wanted to know for nursing, and I figured I'd just make a video answering the questions with my wife nurse. I'm pretty happy because I get to roll around in money now at night because she makes so much money because nurses. If you did like this, please let me know in the comments or hit the like button. Thank you guys for watching. I'm really happy you guys got a chance to watch this. Let us know if you like this format. We'll do more of these. And thank you for coming out. Thank you for making time for this.
It was a long journey, but I made it out here finally.
Thank you guys for watching. Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Is that about it? Yeah.
I feel like I'm in an interview.